That being said, guys, are we okay to go on with our first topic tonight? All right, let's go
yeah.
on. Here we go. All right, guys, first topic, St. Paul Archdiocese declares bankruptcy, calling it fairest recourse. Here we go.
St. Paul and Minneapolis filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Friday. Archdiocese says it can't meet its financial obligations after a large number of clergy sex abuse lawsuits. Alleged victims have stepped forward one after another.
I'm Marie Melky. I was sexually abused by Father Michael Keating, and that was never my fault, and it isn't my fault.
This move means lawsuits against the church will be frozen. It protects the Archdiocese from creditors while the Archdiocese figures out a reorganization plan. This is not expected to affect the 200 or so Catholic parishes and schools because they are incorporated separately.
We want to assure you that the protection of minors is our top priority, and it informs our every action and our every decision. Secondly, we are making every effort to resolve those issues through collaboration, cooperation, and reconciliation. Thirdly, we will continue to care for those who have been harmed by clergy sexual abuse. We continue to facilitate the healing process for this local church in order to restore trust among our Catholic faithful, who are counting on the clergy and our leadership in the church to make virtuous decisions for the well-being of the body of Christ. Obviously, we have a long journey ahead of us to restore trust through humility, competency, and transparency.
Nobody gets joy in any of this, but I think there is some comfort in letting folks know that we are devoted and dedicated to protecting the survivors and making sure that they're honored in this process and treated fairly. That we are committed to continuing to work with the Archdiocese and all of them and their representatives in a way that has begun and will continue to be productive, cooperative, and collaborative. And that we will do everything that is possible and are confident that we can, that what we do in this process is not going to impede the core mission and the good work that the Archdiocese does.
So there you have it. If you guys don't mind me going real quick here, I got a couple things I wish to discuss real quick. It'll only take a few minutes here. Is the Archbishop there said protection of children is our first priority. I think you protected enough children. I think it's time to keep your hands off of them. And I got a statistic here, a couple statistics I'm going to go over real quick here. I'm going to show an image here. And this is the image right here. Estimates suggest that the American church has spent at least $2.2 billion, not million, guys, settling litigation related to the crisis, and that there may have been as many as 100,000 total victims of clerical sexual abuse. Again, this is U.S. alone, guys. What I want to know is the ones that are in silent, that haven't brought up their sexual abuse or being sexually abused, or the payoffs privately, or ones that just have passed away, because this has been going on for a very, very long time. And I can only imagine that they took this being abused to their grave. It's very sad. So if you look at this graph here, I made this today, and it gives you all the payouts from 97 to 2009, and that doesn't even really go up to 2015, okay? And it's estimated $2.2 billion in the U.S. alone. Imagine how much of that money, and this goes out to the Christians out there, or even Catholics, imagine how much of your money in tithing contribute to these payoffs. I want Catholics to just think about that for a minute, or Christians in general, for a minute, and let that sink in. Your tithing over the last, let's say, decade or two has probably been contributing to paying off pedophiles. How does that make you feel? I mean, but Christianity is a source of good, right? Sin and forgiveness, rinse and repeat. But one more thing I want to say before I let you guys go on is this: the actions currently going on, and I would say for the last decade now, actions of the Catholic hierarchy include abusers moving, or they were moved to different locations, failure to report alleged criminal acts to police, handling of evidence, and silencing or threatening victims. So that's all I want to say really on this topic. Who else wants to go on this?
I've got a quick point to make. You know, when you put it in your policy that you won't let your preachers or whatever, your priests have relationships or have sex, or no women priests, or like all these things in your policy, it's eventually going to come bite you in the ass, because they're going to feel like they don't want to. They can't follow a normal relationship, but they still have those natural fucking urges. And so when they follow those urges, they tend to go in real strange directions, like, male prostitutes and shit, because they're like, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to have to go all out when I do have the chance. And you end up with this system that is terribly, terribly broken and cannot sustain itself, even with all the money. They've got all that money.
Oh, gold.
And
all that shit.
They've just got tons of it, and they can't sustain their shit because it's so corrupt and so bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so they've literally filed for bankruptcy.
Morally bankrupt.
Morally
Yeah,
bankrupt,
definitely.
and now financially bankrupt.
Exactly.
Which is interesting, because if you actually read, if you read up on it, they said that they had estimated liabilities of 50 million to 100 million, estimated assets of 10 million to 50 million, and estimated creditors of 200 to 999.
Unbelievable.
So there's not concrete ones, but that's what they kind of ascertained from the filings and stuff. But they're talking about it, and I agree with the Twin City victims attorney, Patrick Noker. He said that it's the wrong way to go, because just a week before the officials would have to be in trial and actually have to go on record and testify, they decided to file bankruptcy so they can avoid a trial. So if they really wanted to help the victims, and in my personal opinion, if they really wanted to help the victims, if they really wanted to get some closure for them and really help them, they should have gone forward with it, instead of sweeping it under the rug now and just kind of like, oh, well, we don't have to admit to everything we've done. This way we kind of get around that, and we're still helping the victims, and this is the best way possible for the victims.
Take a stronger stance. Yeah, Drew.
How can, just a real quick question, how can the Catholic fucking Church be bankrupt?
No, these are just a diocese.
Archdiocese, whatever. But I'm saying,
it's the Archdiocese is just.
I got the solution.
Go ahead, Arn.
Yeah, they're going bankrupt. They need $5,000. No problem. TJ and I will put the band back together. We're on a mission from God. We'll save the whole
Let's
thing.
do this.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is a lot of people misunderstand this thing. When the clergy, when these men become priests, they think they're supposed to take this oath of celibacy, but they don't ever read the whole thing, right? It's an oath of celibacy that you're not going to have sex with anyone above this tall. That's what it is. It's got to be written in there somewhere, because we're seeing this consistently, right?
I know you're 100% right. Yeah. Drew.
No, that's what I was going to say, is that, like that line you touched on, this idea that the protection of those who were harmed is the top priority of the church. It wasn't the top priority when they were shuffling around pedophile priests to new camps and new districts and things like that, where in a lot of these situations we found out that the abuse just continued there. Definitely wasn't top priority there. And I'm also wondering how do you justify supporting this organization that is undeniably corrupt and has done some of the most heinous shit imaginable, including having sex with children and things like that. And it's to the point now. I'm imagining what the normal Catholic, how they must try to defend this, because just like you said, in America it was 12 districts since 2004 have had to close because they can't afford all the lawsuits from fucking children. I mean, imagine Bill Maher, I think, it made this point. Imagine if this were some daycare organization or a corporation or a company or something. They would be sunk. There would be nobody defending that.
I did a couple of presentations on one of them, Religion Reverses Everything, and I quoted that in a recent response to Dennis Prager, wherein I showed the same statistic. There was a study that shows that convicted sex offenders overwhelmingly claim to be devoutly religious, and the strange trend that they noticed was how far that goes. Was the more religious they were, the more victims of the worst crime they committed, the more extreme was the violation.
Yeah.
And then of course, we're not just seeing this among Catholics either.
Oh no, it's all denominations.
And we're getting it from Islam. I mean, there was a news story, like I think today, that somebody had raped his 5-year-old daughter for the offense that he couldn't be sure if she was a virgin. He raped her to death, and then spent a few months in jail over that, and they let him out.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, wow. Less than a year.
Unbelievable. And I don't even go any further on that, but last thing I want to say here is, listen, there's a lot of people that are pissed off at the hierarchy of the church. There's no doubt. I'm talking about the Catholics here. There's no doubt. And that's why you see in America, at least around in New Jersey here where I'm at, you see churches closing down and combined in, 3 or 4 different congregations into one church now. We see this. I talked to my mom. She's a diehard Catholic. And she always, oh yeah, our church is always packed. Well, yeah, Mom. Well, 3 churches closed down in the area, and that's why they put our. And Catholicism is taking a hard fucking hit in America. At least in America, I can speak for hard hit over the last, I would say, 5 to 8 years. There's no doubt because of this, and this is the main issue here is the pedophile priest. There's no doubt. But what I want to say is, it's just amazing the shit you can get away with when religion plays a factor. It's good old Christian morality for you. Sarcasm, of course. But it's just the shit they fucking get away with. And that's why we speak against this fucking bullshit, because our word needs to be heard, because there's people out there that just la. Fucking they don't want to hear about the negativity of Catholicism. Yeah. They don't care about that shit, dude.
It's like that whole... It's that whole don't disrespect my religion shit.
Exactly, and we can't say shit.
People are afraid to tread on anything because you believe it, and there's other people believe like you, so therefore that gives you some kind of special circumstance in which you get out of having to explain certain situations and shit.
Good, and you're supposed to honor the clergy at the same time, because you were talking about what's going on in the last 8 years. I remember in 1990 there was a story out of Louisiana where this somebody had been diddling little boys, and he's a well-respected priest, right? And so they don't even put him up on charges. The governor at that time, 1990, pardoned this guy. 91, I don't remember which. But anyway, they pardoned this guy, and so people were outraged at this, and they turned to the church. And the part of the story that got into the newspapers was that the church's official response was that if they were to prosecute, and this was the way they phrased it, if we were to prosecute every homosexual pedophile priest, the church would be in litigation in the billions of dollars. That's 1990-91. Now, here's the worst part of that to me, is I mentioned this to somebody who was a Mormon, not remotely Catholic, right? And she gets outraged that I'm attacking a religious believer. And so she I'm thinking, I'm going to save this newspaper clipping. No, rips it up, throws it away. Why? What did that accomplish? But yeah, different religions protecting each other over this. You can't have this kind of criminality imposed against a belief, even if it's not the same belief.
And the funny thing is, you're right on that. It's so weird. Like we see, even in my life, I should say, I see where you'll have on social issues that you'll see different denominations or different Christians arguing about the fucking social issues. It's like, okay, well, who's fucking right? Who's God's right? It's
why I've always said that if you let them, this is why I
especially on abortion
Christians
and gays,
have their way.
It's like unbelievable.
If you let Christians have their way, right, and like you're like, okay, fine, put prayer back in school, they would tear each other to shreds, deciding which prayer gets put in there. And if you honestly just, it's one of the reasons I used to say I almost want to vote for Sarah Palin. just to see what the fuck happens. To watch the wreckage, because there will be no coming back. You run a campaign with a stupid person and lose, and we all know that like you're stupid. But if that stupid person wins, like people tend to remember that stupidity a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. Because I swear to God, it's like goldfish attention spans when it comes to politics.
Yeah,
but the problem is you get somebody really stupid in office, they may never leave. Our governor,
Wow.
Rick Perry, was governor of the state for like what, 10, 14 years, something like
14.
that.
14, yeah.
You
He
guys are
took
the
over
proud,
when, yeah,
the
he took
proud
over when Bush became president.
You're the proud claimers of Louis Gohmert as well.
Yeah, and by the way, somebody
Oh,
had
God.
mentioned in the comments about linking homosexuality and pedophilia. That wasn't my words. As I said, that was the way that it was read in the newspaper.